Yeah, I mean, we've been building for about 4 years now at this point, and we're doing pretty good. Yeah, extra current. I don't know. One of the original people that got a lot of tokens for really cheap. I mean, I haven't really thought too much about it. So we think, we're not going to be able to onboard a billion users if everyone has to write down a seed phrase and manage it. People are getting scammed all the time. All this, it's not really going to work.
Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Claudio and this is Cryptochain, and joining me today is Zachary, known as Young Beef on Telegram and Discord and social media in general, also Twitter, right? Element, you're everywhere basically. And he's from Subsocial. He's also part of Chaos DAO, which is the largest community in the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem at the moment. They're doing a lot of great stuff there, voting in governance. So they're really supporting the ecosystem. So kudos to them for that. So Zachary, thank you for joining. We want to know what's the latest about Subsocial, but before I ask you that, just for anyone who's new and who hasn't heard of Subsocial, just in case, if you could please maybe summarize it in a simple way, just without going into too much detail. What is Subsocial?
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on. Subsocial is basically, we say it's like the social layer of the internet, sort of infrastructure layer. You can think of HTTP as like an infrastructure, and then so people, they think like, oh, it's like Facebook or Twitter. No, products built on top of Subsocial could be like Facebook or Twitter, but Subsocial is the underlying layer. It's sort of where the sub comes from. So we're basically building social primitives and tools to enable developers to build social networks on top of Subsocial. And those will be open, decentralized, censorship resistant. Users will be able to own their content, own their social graph, so no one can take those away from you. Obviously, we'll still have moderation, which we can get into more later, but it's really about users being able to regain ownership over their place in the network, and the network as a whole.
Yeah, awesome. And you're also a parachain as well. I
Yeah,
mean, you were on Kusama. You started on Kusama, I know, when you first came on my channel, and you are now on Polkadot, right? How come you decided to migrate to Polkadot?
Yeah, so we moved about 2 or 3 months ago. We got a slot in January. I think we got the cheapest Polkadot parachain slot so far, for
Wow.
just 15,000 dot. Great deal. So I mean, at that point, it was pretty much a no-brainer. Just in terms of security, Polkadot has way more security due to the higher valuation. There's also some other chains that only have a single deployment, like Kilt and Zeitgeist, and they had recently moved as well. And so we didn't want to be limited in options of what projects we could integrate with, because of being on Kusama. And also just from a marketing perspective, it's sort of a no-brainer to be on the much bigger relay chain.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I mean, back in 2021, we both know that Kusama was the hype, was the talking point, because the parachain auctions had just started back then, and everyone was just
Yeah.
like, let's get some KSM and do this, and then we had the NFT products, we had Remark starting up with Canaria, and everyone was hyped up about that as well. So there was so much going on around Kusama, right? And we definitely feel that has died out in the recent while, unfortunately, but who knows? Hopefully, at some point, we may see that back. But I don't want to lose my hope, obviously, but there are still parachains on there. But it is a tricky one, we have to say, right? It is a challenging one, and we all know
Yeah.
that. So
That
that
was a
is,
fun time. And
yeah,
another thing too is with Polkadot, with the auctions, or uh, the slots being longer, you only have to worry about renewing every 2 years.
yeah.
Especially if you do a crowd loan, it's a lot of overhead and just like maintenance and administrative work to be able to pull that off. So having a 2 year slot is a very big advantage over just a 1 year slot.
Okay, so let's talk about the latest from Subsocial. You launched SubID. I know that's been a while now, but since the last time you've been on this channel, I don't we didn't speak about that. So do you want to talk a bit about SubID? What does it actually offer? What can you do on it?
Yeah, so that was we launched it about, I don't know, like 20 months ago or so, middle late 2021. Originally, it was just sort of a one-stop shop for seeing all of your balances and addresses, with all the different chains in the ecosystem. And the only wallet we had at the time was Polkadot.js, and it was really clunky to check all your balances and your addresses and everything. It was really confusing for a lot of people. So we made SubId where you can just go to one page and you have all of your balances, all of your addresses for different chains. Really easy. And you can go look at someone else's account too if you want to see their addresses or how many tokens they have. Pulled in some profile information from Subsocial just to sort of make it a little more customizable. And then we added NFTs as well and state mine assets. And since then, we've slowly built more features. So now we have crowd loan pages. You can claim vesting crowd loan rewards, which I think is still the only place that you can do that for multiple chains all in one spot. Because otherwise, either parachain team has to build a UI for claiming crowd loan rewards for that specific crowd loan, or you have to go on Polkadot.js and do the extrinsic manually, which isn't great. So built all that. In October or the end of September last year, we got a Treasury proposal funded for continued development. So multiple features like crowd loan claims, cross-chain transfers, etc. We had put a second milestone forward on Polkadot a month or two ago, but it got denied, not because the councilors voted no, but they just didn't vote, and so it automatically got denied. But we don't feel that that's really right to go to Kusama. We think it should definitely be with the Polkadot Treasury. So right now we're just waiting until OpenGov launches on Polkadot, which I think should be in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen some talk around the referendum that's gonna be launched. So
Yeah.
let's see that happening. And let's talk about the other tool that you've recently launched, which is the awesome grill chat, right? Tell us a bit about that. Like, how does that integrate into SubID or into on the Subsocial platform? And
Yeah,
what does
so
it do?
it's probably been our most popular app so far. We launched it at the beginning of April. Basically, it started out as a way to showcase the UX solutions that we have. We're really focused on really good UX. With a lot of blockchain projects, the user experience in general isn't great, and you have to use a wallet, which for most people is really complicated. Um, so we think, we're not going to be able to onboard a billion users if everyone has to write down a seed phrase and manage it. People are getting scammed all the time. All of this, it's not really going to work. So we needed a better solution. So about a year ago, we released the energy system, which basically allows for sponsored transactions. And then we created the off-chain signer, which is basically a way for applications to sign and pay for transactions on your behalf. That's using proxy accounts, which is a really cool feature of Substrate. So a Grill Chat, basically it's a on-chain chat application. It's totally decentralized and anonymous. So you can open it up and there's multiple chat rooms. And as soon as you send your first message, it automatically generates a Substrate account for you. And it can give you the private key if you want to save it. Personally, I don't. I just keep making new accounts. But it generates an account for you. The private key is stored in your browser in the local storage securely. And then off-chain signer basically signs and pays for the transactions for you. So that allows you to chat on-chain. You don't need a wallet, so you can use it from just a regular mobile browser. You don't need to get tokens. That's a big onboarding barrier. And you don't have to constantly sign transaction pop-ups.
And let's talk about the energy. That's one of the new features that you've launched. So you obviously have the sub coin, which, by the way, still hasn't launched yet. So I want to get to that as well. But tell us about energy. Like, how does that actually work?
So energy is not technically a token. It's just like a balance on chain, sort of. So to create energy, you burn sub tokens. And so you burn one sub token, you get one energy. Energy is not transferable. It never will be. Sub token will be transferable eventually, obviously. But if I have sub in my account, I can burn it and create energy in your account. So once I do that, you can't transfer it, so you will need to use it from your account. But I can give you energy, basically. So
Okay, interesting.
when that first came out, we didn't have the off-chain signer yet. So if you didn't have sub, you would have to go get it. But with using the energy system, I can basically just onboard you to Subsocial without you having to go deal with getting tokens. Um, so that's cool. But also we have something called the energy coefficient. Currently it's set to 5x. So what this means is with one energy, you can do 5 times as many transactions as you could with one sub. So right now, one sub, you can do around 50 transactions. So if you instead burn that and create energy, you can do 250.
Wow.
So that incentivizes people to burn the token, which
Yeah,
is good. And then we can change that coefficient in the future to scale the network. So, we get to the future where can basically change the cost of using the network by messing with that number.
absolutely. No, that's interesting. And yeah, I know that a lot of parachain teams have been onboarded on Subsocial and they're posting articles there. And not only that, but also the WAG media people, right? Like a lot of the bounties or anything like related to articles with regards to a specific parachain or some new feature is usually done on Subsocial, which is pretty cool. Like I've seen a lot of utility now on there. So compared to how it was like just over a year ago, I think that has definitely improved, so that's really, really good. You guys are obviously doing a good job, marketing it and getting people to use it. And aside from that, I wanted to mention that like I've spoken to one of the community members in my community, and he absolutely loves Subsocial, and he told me that he's noticed that the SEO is actually better than that of Medium. So if you write
Yeah.
an article about a specific parachain on Medium and then one on Subsocial, you're gonna see the Subsocial one higher up in the ranks when you're searching for it on Google. So that's pretty cool. So you guys
Yeah.
definitely did
Yeah.
a good job there. I don't know what the secret is, or if you could talk about that, but if you can share the
Uh,
secret.
yeah, not sure I want to reveal the secret sauce, but it's probably partially to do with that there's way more articles on Medium.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a SEO whiz exactly, but that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe also to do with the free account, I think, because like by default you get like a free account on Medium, but you don't get all the different features as a paid account. So those people that are using the free account might not see that
Yeah.
benefit, of the SEO. Whereas on Subsocial, it doesn't have that, right? You need to pay for transactions, so that could be it as well. Let's talk about the sub token. I know that you've had a lot of questions before when the Telegram community was open to the public. I know that now you had to shut that down and it's read only. You've moved everything over to Discord like a lot of the parachain teams did, so you're not alone in that. But yeah, I know you were getting a lot of questions of when token, right? So I know it's been a long time since you won the parachain slot on Kusama. Now you're on Polkadot. But is there anything that's like stopping you from making that coin transferable? Is there like any legal issue or anything like that that's preventing you from doing it, or technical challenge or anything? Or what's the reason behind it?
I'm not really gonna say too much about it, but I will say I believe if you look on Rococo, we are opening a channel.
Okay.
That's as much as I will say on that.
Okay, that sounds good. So it sounds like you're getting close then. Sounds like we may be seeing
Mhm.
something soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're moving.
So if whenever the subcoin is going to be transferable, will the energy system remain exactly the same? So will people still be able to burn sub to generate energy? Or is that
Yeah.
planning? Are you planning to change that eventually?
No, we're gonna keep that implemented. That's one of the core systems. It works together with our off-chain signer to enable uh, grill chat and all of our awesome UX solutions.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Sounds good. Cool. And I do want to ask about the next piece of topic, which is in relation to funding. I know that a lot of parachain teams are suffering right now, given it is a bear market, given some time has passed since they got their investments. Like how is Subsocial doing in that sense? Like I don't want to know like amounts, but I'm just curious. And when it comes to timeline, like how long do you think you guys have like in terms of runway to sustain and to continue developing? I know you've developed a lot, which is awesome. We've seen Real Chat, we've seen SubId, but like how long do you think you can really sustain until you'll say we need to do something about this?
Yeah, I mean, we've been building for about 4 years now at this point, and we're doing pretty good. We're not worried at all, and we've been getting some Treasury funding as well, and we believe that we will continue to do that. Next sub-ID proposal, we're going to be submitting a proposal to Kusama Treasury within the next couple of days, I think. I made a forum post on Monday, I believe, about this for our open communication layer that we're going to be building for Polkadot, basically to bring all of the communication on chain to be totally open and transparent. Not limited just to governance, but governance is a great example for it. Probably the best example is looking at PulkAssembly and Subsquare. I
Yeah.
believe PulkAssembly has an open API because if you go on Subsquare, you can see comments made on PulkAssembly. You can see them on Subsquare, but you still have to switch back and forth between the Subsquare and the PulkAssembly tabs, so they're still separate. If you go on PulkAssembly, you can't even see stuff from Subsquare. And like, for example, Subsquare doesn't support Moonbeam governance. So if you want to participate in Moonbeam governance, you have to use PulkAssembly. If you don't like PulkAssembly, it's kind of just like too bad. So we're going to be trying to make this open communication layer to basically bring all of that on chain into one unified place. It'll be open so anyone can access it. We already have PulkAssembly committed to integrating with this. So basically, different applications will be able to just access this. And if let's say 5 months from now, I make a proposal on PulkAssembly, you can go on Subsquare, you can see it, you can make a comment. I can go back on PulkAssembly, I can see your comment. We can have 1,000 different governance platforms.
Yeah.
All of the content will be shared across all of them. So that's probably the best example, but also things like being able to create chats around prediction markets on Zeitgeist, specific NFTs on Singular, pretty much anything you can think of. So basically going to be adding communication to pretty much every single on-chain entity.
Wow. So you're basically aggregating all these different products that are out there into the one, just like you've done with SubId, where people can just enter their address, see all the crowd-loan contributions, access their wallet. Now they can chat, all this sort of stuff. So that's the idea, isn't it? Ultimately, to just aggregate everything together and make it easy to access from that one application, right?
It's more so making it where you can access everything from any application. It's basically the same thing what we're doing with Subsocial is we're building the infrastructure and then because I mean, if you go on Facebook and you make a post, you go on Twitter and you can't find that post because they're separate.
Yeah.
But with Subsocial, you can have two different social apps. You go on one, you make the post, and you can see it on the other one. So
Wow.
stuff isn't siloed anymore. It's basically we're trying to break down all these walls. And so that's what we're going to be doing with OpenCom. So on Monday, I made a post about it on the Polkadot forum just to get some preliminary feedback. We'll be posting it on chain for discussion in the next couple of days, and I'll be going to a proposal for the Kusama Treasury after that, at least for the first milestone.
Interesting. Are you worried about the famous Hank?
We'll see. Worst case, we just wait a couple of weeks and then go on Polkadot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I'm
was gonna ask that. Is
much
that
less
the
worried
plan?
about Hank on Polkadot. I think the token distribution is much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we still don't know what Hank has on Polkadot, so it's still challenging, and we don't know if he's planning to
Yeah.
even defend Polkadot this stage because the treasury is like so much bigger, isn't it? So that's I don't even think he or she cares that much about Polkadot right now at this stage. It's just Kusama from what we're seeing. So we'll see. Just one final question, because now I have you here. I know that you also like governance. Who do you suspect is Hank?
I mean, I haven't really thought too much about it. It's not really particularly important to me. I don't really expect that we will ever know. I mean, if we
But
do,
do you think
cool.
like it's an
But
ex-parity employee or a current parity employee?
probably
Yeah,
it's probably an ex parity or yeah, ex or current. I don't know. One of the original people that got a lot of tokens for really cheap.
yeah,
Um, because the only other option would be like some VC with a ton of tokens, but
yeah,
from some of like the shenanigans, I think it's an individual.
yeah.
So it's probably likely to be one of those parody OGs.
Yeah, and definitely a techie person as well. I don't think they're not techie, so they seem to know their stuff around the extrinsics and things like that. So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, thank you, Zachary. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing all that information. Do you have anything else to share? Anything exciting coming up as a final words with regards to Subsocial?
No, not much else to say. I
Okay.
mentioned our off-chain signer. I don't think I really talked about that a lot, how that works, though. I guess I can explain that. So it uses proxy accounts, which are a really cool feature of Substrate, where you can basically let another account sign and pay for transactions on your behalf. I believe with the original implementation of it, there's just two proxy types. You could ask Limo; he can tell you a lot better. I can't keep him straight, but we created a new type of proxy called the social actions proxy, Subsocial. So it includes the palettes for posts, reactions, comments, and I think follows. Uh, so basically, if you set another account as a social actions proxy, that account can like posts for you. It can post something for you. It can make a comment. It can follow someone. Can remove a reaction. But it can't do anything like delete stuff or transfer tokens or edit your profile, etc. So it's kind of lowering the security, but it's not really like super sensitive stuff. If I like your post and then something happens, it gets unliked. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So the actual technical implementation is you have the user's account. So they set a proxy, as we call it, the main proxy. And then that main proxy sets another proxy on what we call the off-chain signer. So the off-chain signer is the one that's actually doing the signing at the end of the day. And for the service to be able to do that, it has to run on a server, and it needs the private keys for that account on that server. So that's obviously a security vulnerability. Someone could hack into the server and post from my account basically. So the reason we have that middle proxy in there is because if we just had one, say we had 10,000 people all using this one signer, if someone hacks into that, all 10,000 people manually have to go in and change who their proxy is. But because we're going through the main proxy, our team has the private key for that account stored securely offline, so it's secure. And if something happens to the server, we can just go in and change the main proxy onto a new signer, so the end user doesn't have to do anything.
Sounds good.
So obviously there is some risk there. A hacker could get in and then make a post from my account, but I can go in and delete it. It's not really a big deal. But so that makes it where I don't need tokens. I don't need to constantly deal with transaction confirmations. The signer just handles it all for me. It's basically like using Facebook or Twitter. You can create an account with the email and a password now if you want, which means you can use it from your mobile browser. So it's basically so simple that my grandma could use it now, but it's on chain. So we started from decentralization first. We're committed to that, but we realized that with decentralization, there's trade-off with user experience. So you can kind of think of like a spectrum where you have total decentralization and worse UX, or better UX and some centralization. So we built solutions across the spectrum. So your total cypherpunk can be totally decentralized and deal with the worst UX, and my grandma can just use it in a nice way. But the advantage is everybody is on a open, transparent social graph as opposed to Web 2, where it's all siloed walled gardens. So we think this is a direct upgrade from Web 2, and the user experience is basically the same. So there's basically no onboarding barriers anymore. We're ready to onboard 1 billion users.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And let's hope we can see that happen. I mean, you've already convinced a lot of the parachain teams to do that. So that's great. Kudos to you, and good luck in the remainder of this project. And obviously, we're looking forward to the next updates that are yet to come out. So thank you, Zachary, for taking the time to come on. And by the way, if you want to follow Subsocial, I will be posting links both in the description of this video and also in the pinned comments. So check them out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.